Okay. Okay, we are gonna get started. Carolyn is coming on in. Hi, Carolyn.
How are you?
I'm so good. How are you? Look at you. You are just glowing.
So nice too. I'm trying to
Oh,
get this. Can you okay? This? Yeah. Yeah.
yes, baby. Oh
There
my
we go.
God, that necklace. And it matches your
Oh,
lipstick.
I was going to ask you. I think it's Sujilite. Is that Sujilite, I think?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the one you wear. That's the one you usually wear, right?
I wore it in the past. Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
bringing it back out. I was
Yeah,
wearing Moonstone. Let's see. This is
absolutely. Well,
yeah.
everyone, thank you guys for, I know a couple of people are coming in still, but while people are filtering in, do you want to introduce yourself and give people kind of a little background of you and what you do and all your magic?
Yes, cool. So good to be here, Madison. I'm a big fan of yours. So, so
Likewise.
excited. Yeah, I am a psychotherapist. I'm a psychic, an intuitive, and a healer, and I've been doing it for 25 years. I have been doing this work, like working with the universe and kind of creating and clearing beliefs of people. The feeling that if you're feeling like you're not living your life purpose, you can help do theta healing, create beliefs, and shift beliefs, and help you live to your highest potential. So I'm kind of a person that incorporates the soul, which is psychic, and the mind, which is psyche, kind of combined it together during this time, the Aquarian Age, which is huge on the planet right now, because we're going through a big transformation. So, and I have 2 books, Honor Your Spirit and How to Work with the Universe, and then Soul Wisdom. But that's who I am. I'm a therapist, intuitive, and healer. Yeah.
Yes. Carolyn, she would come, well, obviously when we were open, come into the store all the time, and she was telling me about her theta healings, and I was like, oh, wait, I want to do that. And we did it twice, right? Or we at least,
Yeah.
I know we definitely did it once, but yeah, we did it twice, and it was one of the most, like, quick, like you just did so much work so quickly and so effortlessly, and it was this one experience I try to share with people because it was so cool. So what she does is she does muscle testing so the theta healing when she goes into Christ consciousness and just dismantles any of these core beliefs that you have, either that happened in this life or in previous lives that have followed you into this life. And honestly, if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be doing what we're doing right now. I wouldn't have been on the Crystal QVC. I wouldn't have done any of this because I really, really resisted and really hated the idea of being in front of the camera, being seen and shown to other people. I just didn't want to be open to criticism or whatever it was. And so she did some muscle testing, and she goes, okay, do you believe that you will die if you are exposed? And I said no, but my muscle testing said absolutely. I was petrified, and she cleared all this stuff, and it was so intense, and it was so quick, and I started crying and all this stuff. But then, it just shifted. It just shifted so quickly, and because of that, I was able to be on here, and it's just such a freeing experience. And so I'm so grateful. And she's just, and whenever she comes in, I just you just have so much information to give and are so wildly knowledgeable. And I know we spoke a little bit yesterday about kind of, the Aquarian Age, you and I privately. And I kind of just want to know, is there anything you just want to start off with?
Yeah, definitely, because I think this is the time of the divine feminine. It really is. And this is the time of the universe. We're moving from the Piscean Age, Aquarian Age. And the Piscean Age was more during the, like the Catholicism and all this other stuff, the Christ energy. But now we're moving to the Aquarian Age. The Aquarian Age is the time of the creator. And the creator, who are the natural creators, are women. So we're moving into this time where women will be more respected, the Me Too movement, where we're creating with the universe, we're creating with Mother Earth, thus your crystal store doing so well, because the earth, the crystals are definitely the energy of the earth with the energy of the divine connected. And what has happened is that during the time of this transition, everyone wanted to be on the planet. So we have so many souls here right now And so many souls going through this transition, because whenever you change an age, what happens is that more you get more clearing, more karma. It's usually very hard. It's usually more difficult. In This is actually 2012 in Ethiopia, and what's interesting is that Ethiopia is the beginning of civilization. That's where they found Lucy. You know who Lucy is? Lucy is an anthropological woman. She's the oldest woman that they found. She's African from Ethiopia, and this is in that place which started humanity, Africa. Is 2012. So this feels like 2012. Everything is crashing. Everything is going down. The whole 2012 going on. You know, everything's are not, you know, working. Systems are breaking down because we have to clear the energy to plant new seeds. And these new seeds are our ability to create with the universe, to create new lives, new school systems, new food, to create better government, to create people working collaboratively. We got to get rid of all the negative old belief systems that were here. So I'm not surprised that when this whole COVID thing happened, COVID or Corona crown. So it's really the crown chakra opening on a global scale. So when so what happened is that the crown started opening. It's a viral energy. We get more downloads, and we're in a quarantine. Quarantine is 40 days usually. You know, we're a lot longer, but it's 40 days. And what was 40 days, 40 nights? And with 40 days is when Jesus spent time in the desert to like download and find his true destiny. So we're being called by the divine crown to be inward and to start writing down our soul, what we're here to do, what we're here to manifest, what we're here to create, because that's why the systems are breaking down. So we got to look at this as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to actually clear a lot of karma. Now, when George Floyd was killed, basically, this is my interpretation, he died on the earth, and the earth is female. The earth is the mother. Mother, matter is mother. So the word mother comes from the word matter, which is like incarnating into earth. So when he died and he called out to his mother, who was on the other side, he was also calling out to all the women in humanity to birth something new. And he died, and he is a male. He was an African-American male. So he holds the original seed, because everyone originally comes from Africa and spread around the world. So when we collectively saw that death, we were like, oh, wait a minute. This intuitively, spiritually, as souls, we knew there was something wrong. We knew that this was like, oh my God, it was almost the ending of his breath. The breath is what gives us life. And the word spirit means breath. So our spirits were activated. So spirit means a breath of intention. And a funny, interesting, the word religion comes from the word regulate, which means to control. But spirit, great, and spirit means intention. So that's why people are getting more spiritual, because we do not want to be controlled. We don't like that feeling of control. So this was really symbolic to me of the death. I also think I got in a download is that, not saying he's Christ or he's a major figure, but he is in this movement. But we never really saw a death collectively as a group. We all were inside. We all were able to see the whole video.
Yes.
We never saw Christ get killed. Everyone that believes Christ, the Piscenaries is all about the Christ, but we never saw a killing. Like, you know, the police could have been Pontius Pilate. It's like the same cycle going on. And as we saw that collectively, we're starting to open up to like, wait a minute, this is wrong. There's something more. What are we here to learn? How can we transform humanity? And things might go extreme at one place, but it's going to go back to center as slowly as we pick through this garden of creation and start planting new seeds. And that's where you see the merging of people. The Aquarian Age, which started in 2012, and a little bit before, there's a lot of different theories. They say that it takes about 100 years to roll out. So we're like really at the beginning of the Aquarian Age is, again, the time of the creator, and it's the time of the melding of the male and the female, these energies coming together. So being a female, but then owning a business, doing the male energy, but then being receptive to crystals, you know, or, you know, the it's like putting things out, but then also to being receptive to it. So this is a combination of the yin and the yang, the male and the female, the father and the mother, the earth and the heaven. There's always a duality on the earth plane because we're here to grow and learn. So that duality is those resistance of those differences help us change, help us learn, help us grow. And the thing I thought was interesting about the coronavirus is that, you know, they can look at the government one way or another way. Corona was the crown chakra was being closed. Then we're seeing all this fear and weird energy being the love. So all these here on the planet going into the third eye during the media, which is on television, and they use television like tell a vision of what they want to see. They say that we're being programming, we're being programmed by their narrative and channeling something dark. So all these words were made to make us to kind of get absorbed, obsessed with this stuff that's not really helping us. So a lot of our third eyes are closing, right? And then these are the crown chakra, the third eye, and then the covering, the throat. So all these chakras, if we can't speak, there's out there, but we can't speak, we can't see, and what are we getting downloaded? So this is whenever something negative, we can do something positive. They try to push us back. Look at all the protests because you can't sustain destiny. They try to division. People are creating something new out of that. People are getting higher downloads, and they're going to start writing and creating. And this is part of the reason these school systems are crushing, because these school systems crush kids' spirits because creative people move. They don't just sit still. I'm sure with your crystals, you move here, you move there, you do different things. You're always creating new ideas, different things. Creative kids move. So school systems where you're sitting for 8 hours doesn't really help. So we're going to have to change the dialogue. We're changing the food that can help us. We're changing government. We're changing money. We're changing. Everything is changing. But hopefully this intention would be for the better, the higher good. Another thing about the heart energy is that the earth plane is where we're supposed to create with our heart. And that's why the word heart and the word earth are the same letters twisted around. So we trade around, again, we twist around the darkness and then put it into light. So heart and earth are the same letters. So we go to our heart to create an earth. The planet Venus is the planet of, and everything is orchestrated for us to grow. All the planets have, of course, with astrology, have knowledge and awareness. So the planet Venus was in a 8-year cycle, okay? And it went from, during the 2012 to 2020, it went down the Milky Way galaxy. It went really right down this canal. They call it the birth canal. The birth canal is creating something new in the Aquarian Age, and milk is considered mother's milk. So it's actually the entering of the divine feminine to create with our hearts. So now Venus is in its high place, and then Venus is supposed to help us go to the heart. How does your heart open? Trauma, tragedy, we saw murder. So everything is being played out for us to open up and then say, okay, I want to create something better. I want to create something new. So, and does that all kind of resonate with what I was talking about, creating with the universe? Now, another thing is really important about knowing these things is that the universe talks to you in different ways. It talks to you, of course, in numbers, right? Who does not see 1111 all the time, right?
I
Or
know
you
everybody
see,
that's watching this right now definitely does all the fucking time.
oh, really? Yeah, yeah. And then also 444, those numbers, when you see sequential numbers, that's the universe speaking to you, because the universe needs a universal language. And what are the universal languages? Numbers, okay? The languages is humor, song. That's why they call it universe versus a song, okay? That's why music is so important to us, because we're pure energy beings. I think you can see my little chakra chart behind there. 1222, yeah, 222. 222 is the number of the Holy Spirit. And it's also the number of intuition. I've been seeing 222 all of a sudden. And working with the Holy Spirit of creating from spirit and using your intuition to create. So a lot of people are seeing 222. So yeah, you see numbers sequentially and regularly. Again, the person wants you to start to listen to it and start to create different things. 555 is change. 777 is spirituality. You'll see 999. Look up numbers, but also look up your numbers. Like if you're connected to your birth date, your birth time, do your numerology, and you'll start seeing them anywhere. And that's how you know that you're on your own course. Okay. So, creating from your heart, you want to create with the universe. 222 has been crazy. Oh, that's cool. 1111, yes, 444. 1111 to me is like the gateway, the opening of the two doors into the spiritual realm, knowing that the universe is creating with you. So 1111 opens the doors. It's also the tarot deck, the tower cards. When the towers crash, 911, our innocence was awoken. It's the ascended masters talking to you. It's saying that you're a soul, you're a being that ascends to a higher plane if you do the work, if you start dialoguing. Within our heart, within our spirit, is where our downloads from the God source lie. So what that means is that we all have the programming in our soul, what we're here to do. And we feel pulled to certain things. I say that our gifts in the universe are God-inspired feelings and talents synchronized using acronyms. Gifts, God-inspired feelings and talents. They synchronize together. So things start flowing very nicely when you're doing your own spiritual gifts. You know, it just starts, you know, meet the right person at the right time. You see the numbers, you know, you see different things that are happening. You see synchronicities, you know, regularly. Again, working with your spirit, you can start working, being synchronicity and signs. Now, I love acronyms. So I use the acronym SPIRIT to say, how do we do our guiding force? So S, whenever you see synchronicity and signs, that's your spirit talking to you. P, whatever your purpose is what you're passionate about, okay? So whatever you're passionate about is your purpose. When you find your person you become passionate about, like you can do it all day long. You may get tired, but I'm sure with your crystals, you just love working with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just do them all the time. You can do it, you know, morning, noon, and night. You can understand them.
Yes.
So, yeah, right? Yeah, there you feel like really pulled to them. So that's P. Whatever your passion about, your purpose, your passion. I, the language is spirit. How do you work with your spirit? That's intuition. Okay? I. So your spiritual language is intuition. So when you get chills and aha moments and, you know, hair on the back of your neck standing up, hair on your arms, that's your intuition. That's your spirit, you know, trying to get attention. So anything that's intuitive or intuition, that's your total spirit speaking to you. That's the language. So the other I in spirit is intelligence. If you want to work with the universe, work with the intelligence of this dynamic being that created animals and food products and the human body and nature and landscapes and oceans. This is a magical history tour, a magical place that we have here. Who created this? But I was like, I want to connect to the being that created this wonderful energy, whatever it may be, male, female, whatever. Just it's an energy flow. It's a vortex of light. So when you start calling to it, when you want to get universal connection, you have to ask the universe for, I call it AAA. You ask, you always get an answer, and then you must take action. AAA. Whatever your car is needing, AAA. So our soul are like car vehicles. So we're all different cars. You might be a BMW, I might be a Honda, or whatever. And when my car is in trouble, I ask. They give me help. And then I always get an answer. They come for threes. They come for synchronicity and signs and numbers and other totem animals. And then I got to take action on it. Makes it solidify, makes it stronger. So P is purpose and passion. I is intelligence of the universe and intuition. R. This is how it's easy to remember. You have to renew and rejuvenate your spiritual body. That spiritual energy, that's your life force. Behind you can see my spirit, my little. So you have to renew it, rejuvenate it. And I know it's wonderful, you know, because these are so burnt. Sage stick. Yeah, Palo Santo. So you want to start, you know, use sprays to start smudging yourself. You want to clear this field because our aura field, at the end of it, they have, little antennas on it. So the antennas go, boop, 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 oh, I should go to open crystal. Boop, 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 boop. Oh, I should go and talk to Madison. Boop, boop. It just kind of leads to the different, or with the crystal. People feel drawn. I don't know why I feel drawn to the crystal. Yeah. The crystal's calling to people, correct? To me, that's the earth. That's the Mother Earth. That's a piece of the mother calling us to grab it. I think it's everywhere. To kind of say, I can help you. I can help align you. I can do that. And I believe we have crystalline substance. I heard that our energy is just a crystalline substance, and the crystals can speak to the crystals in our bodies. There's a communication that goes along. So you want to clear your field with the R, renew and rejuvenate your field so that you're the right stone or you're putting the right messages and that your energy body can really help you move along. So R is that, and then the other I is inspirational. You want to know how to find your path, what inspires you. What do you feel connected to? Music? Is it writing? Is it dance? Is it, sound? Is it out being in nature, helping kids? You feel inspired, you feel invigorated. Somebody said, "Oh, you're working tonight?" I was like, "No, no, no, I'm doing a class online." They're like, "Let's work." I'm like, "No, it's not. I'm talking to Madison." It's not me.
I know, it's easy because it's not work for us. I mean, it is, but it's not.
Yeah. So just like I love doing that, inspires me. So I love that kind of stuff. I love helping the divine feminine in all different forms, going out there and bringing the light. You need this light, this vortex. And so that's the inspiration. So what inspires you is what you're called to do. The other I is intuition. It's insight. Whatever you do is like you're more insightful. Like you have a gift, you're more insightful. When Madison talks about a crystal, don't you feel like I am so obsessed with your show? I'm like watching it, it's on when I'm driving. They're like, "Oh my God, look at this, get this crystal," it's blah, blah, blah. You're like, divine vortex of high priestess of the crystals, like so much. And that energy of knowing it's so intuitive to you, right? And you just know what and it's always right. And I'm like, oh, this is like school. So like having that, so that's your insight gift connected to your spirit. It just comes second nature. So whenever you want to do work, do something that's or passion, it's very easy. You have insights beyond other people. Okay, that's how you find it. So that's the I, SPIRIT, and inspiration and insight. T is truth, and you got to trust. When the universe talks to you, you have to trust that you're right on course. You have to trust the information is right. You got to trust that what your heart's saying, you got to connect to your heart, and Chris can do that. You have to connect to, what is right for you and not for other people. And you have to know it's the truth for you. Okay, so you trust the truth. That's the last T. So I like to use the acronym because it helps people to understand that this spirit is functional. It's not just energy around us. It's something that functions in us, that is God-given. It has all our programs in it. All our programs are in our aura field, and that's our thoughts, our intentions, and our thoughts, our intentions, and our energy comes through our aura field. So that's why when people meet somebody, they're like, "Oh, they're cool," or somebody meets somebody else, you're like, "I don't know. I'm going to put up a block," because our aura emanates this. But our aura also has our downloads for our spiritual path here. So, yeah. So, so the universe also talks in totem animals. You want me to just keep going with all this stuff?
I feel like I'm doing like a little one-on-one treat. I know everybody else here does too, so I'm in. I'm here for it.
So I love as animals can speak to us because the universe uses everything. It uses cars, it uses numbers, it uses aha moments, but it also uses totem animals. And if you see a certain animal at a certain time, that's usually a universal message, okay? So you might see a crow, and that means connecting to your ancestors. You might see a hawk. Like I always have this woman, I call her Hawk in the Hood. It was one of my clients that she wanted to figure out, she was a postal worker, and she says I can tell her story because it just helped her so much. So she was really tired of the postal service, and she didn't know what she wanted to do. And I said, "What are you good at?" And she said, I don't know. And she goes, "I hate the post office, but I like being outside." And yeah. So she goes, "I miss being outside." So I'm like, okay. So why don't you ask the universe? Because one thing she goes, she liked all the things I said, and she's like, "Oh, by the way, what hummingbirds?" I see a message there. Hummingbirds mean the sweetness in life, like honoring the sweetness in life, and they also mean overcoming feats. Because hummingbirds have little chubby little bodies, but little wings, and they're able to overcome that feat. So whenever you see a hummingbird, remember the universe is a song. They're very sacred because humming sounds. Okay. So universe, then also like in terms of using that word, what's your rhythm? What harmonizes with you? So hummingbirds, anything to do with sound that has to do with a sacred call from the universe and your universal life path. So getting back to my client that was in the hood, so it was funny because I said, "Well, what do you really like to do?" She says, I don't know. So I asked her to ask the universe. She goes, "I get messages a lot and I get premonitions." I'm like, "Good, I have a live one. So I can use this in mental health." And she goes, I get messages. So I said, why don't you use this, ability to like get premonitions and to go out, ask for a message, and go and just, come back and see what comes in. So she went out and she left, and then what happened is, I said, did anything happen? She's like, no. I said, you see a sign or a message? She's like, not really. And then she goes, oh, it was weird. When I was on my path, I was walking with my satchel doing in Compton, and this hawk came and flew next to me, hit me on the head, went and just like wings, just looked at me. And I was like, a hawk in the hood? She's like, yeah, a hawk in the hood. And I was like, that's not a common thing. Don't you think that's a sign? She goes, I said, how do you know it was a hawk? She goes, I know my animals. I said, you do? She goes, oh yeah, I have plenty. I said, how many cats you have? She goes, well, I have like 4 dogs, 3 cats, a boa constrictor, a reptile, a ferret. And I said, what's your passion? She goes, I don't know. I'm like, you have a menagerie of animals and you don't know what your passion is? And you recognize the hawk? She goes, yeah, I guess so. The hawk, I just thought that was weird. I said, look up hawks. So she looked it up, and it says seeing life from a higher perspective. And I was like, well, look at that. Maybe you're supposed to see your life from a higher perspective. And I said, if you had $6 million, what would you do? And she goes, I would open up an animal menagerie. I would just take care of animals. I said, that's your purpose. Because a lot of times people won't do that because they feel nervous about money and about putting things out there. So I was like, just, ask and, see what comes up. She goes, well, okay.
We're going to save it. I promise you. Sorry, I
so,
was to what she was saying.
Oh, okay. So then she's like, okay. So then she goes out and she's like losing her job. And it was actually sad because she was a former gangbanger. She got straightened up to get a job. She had a son, a 5-year-old. And 2 of her brothers were actually killed by the police. She was really angry. So to have her have all these animals was kind of interesting because that's where she showed her sensitive time. And then I said, what do you do on the weekend? She was like, take care of my son and I clean my dogs. And I said, how many dogs? She was like, I clean the 4. And then I clean about, 20? And I said, 20? She goes, yeah, I cut their hair. And she goes, oh, there's my uncles, my friends, my this. I said, do you charge for that? She goes, no. I said, that's a business. If you can go and clean people's dogs for free, that's a business. She goes, so she's like putting things together. So I said, ask again. So she went out and asked. So because of all what happened to her brother, she didn't like authority. So she didn't like the militaristic part of the post office. So I said, ask again. So 3 weeks later, she didn't come back. And then she emailed me, and she runs back into the class. She goes, oh my God, what happened? I said, what? She goes, I saw that same hawk. I said, no. How do you know it's the same one? She goes, I know my animals. It was the same hawk. And she said, I was sitting in the tree in Compton, looking at me, watching me walk along the way. And I was like, that is so crazy. And she goes, what's even weirder is that in my satchel, this cat jumped in my satchel, and it was walking along, and with me on my halter. I went all around the block, and the neighbor, the guy who owned the cat, said, wow, that's my cat, Charlie. He's like, that's strange. Charlie doesn't like people. You must be good with animals. She said she got chilled. So then she said a couple days later, this is a true story, a couple days later, she said her boss called her out of the blue from Petco, and her boss said, hey, you just popped in my mind. That's how synchronicity works. And I'm thinking of starting animal grooming, mobile grooming service. Would you want to be part of it? And she's like, that is so crazy. And she goes, but then I'm thinking about my benefits. Maybe I can work at Petco again, and they get part-time benefits. So that took a while to get in, but it gave her enough time to start putting everything else in place. And then she said, in about 3 months, I think I can leave my job. I think I can do it. Because she kept asking, kept seeing signs. The hawk would follow her. She'd see the hawk everywhere. So then eventually I was like, wow, this is cool. I never heard from her. She said she did well, and she left. About a year later, I got an email from her, and it was like a beautiful picture of her with a pit bull smiling. She said, thank you so much. I found my purpose. Now, yes, I'm doing my life purpose. And we have a picture I would have showed you because it's her and the pit bull. She loves animals. She knows everything about it. And she said, I wanted to set up a session just to tell you how much you shifted my life, but I knew with other people, so thank you. And it was just amazing because this was a gangbanger and this difficult life, and loved animals, and now she's doing it like full time and has done it for several years. And right when I thought of her, man, there it is. It comes in. And I have so many stories like that, like where I work in mental health. I'm working with animals because, again, Mother Earth has also takes care of the animals. So we're being called to take care of the animals, take care of the crystal, take care of the earth, take care of the food, take care of the children. All these things are coming up. So what happened is one of my clients in the group, she was depressed, suicidal. She's 29 before her Saturn return. And I can tell you Saturn if you want to know what it is. But so she was very, very depressed. And I go, what do you do? She says, I do IT. And I'm like, oh, okay. Do you like it? She said, I don't like it. She said, what do you want to do? She says, I don't know. But it's so weird. She was, I keep seeing hummingbirds everywhere, hummingbirds. And I said, wow, that's cool. And she goes, yeah, they're always coming around. And every time I think of my grandmother, I see a hummingbird. And I'm like, that's awesome. I said, what did your grandmother do? And she goes, oh, she was a writer. And I said, do you like to write? She goes, oh, I would love to write. But I make so much money in IT. And I want to write screenplays and stuff. And I don't think I'd make it, doing writing that way here in LA. But I would love to. And I said, well, it's interesting that you keep talking about seeing your grandmother. She was a writer. She was, yeah, I wonder. And Saturn, at 29, 20, that's when your soul changes course, depending on your heart center. It's where the planet comes as a taskmaster, helps you move to your highest purpose. So as we were talking in this class, just like this, we have a big window. I kid you not. We were talking about it. A hummingbird came behind her and was floating. And people in the class were like, oh my God, it's Grandma. So, I wish I could take pictures, but it's confidential. We went crazy. And we're like, there's Grandma. She's like, that is so weird. And then she's talking and talking. And she's like, maybe I could do it, maybe I'm not. But I pay off my student loans. I make good money in IT, but it's boring, but I'm creative, and blah, blah, blah. This is always not going to work. And Greenberg left. We're like, okay, it's your choice, whatever you want. So then, so she said, but I said, well, how do you feel when you go to work? She's like, I feel so depressed. I feel so suicidal. I cannot get out of bed. I don't want to do that. I said, maybe you should start thinking about your purpose. I explained Saturn. And she's like, well, maybe I could write something small. I said, you IT, you can do blogs. You're in IT, you're always on the internet. Yeah. And she's, yeah, I was thinking, but maybe I could. She started getting brighter. Coming back. It came back and started floating behind her. We squealed. We're like, Grandma's back, So she's like, I'm not sure. These are true stories. I cannot tell you.
I'm still not convinced. No, I'm kidding. I mean, like when stuff like that happens, it's like, what else do you need? You were completely trust. Like you're saying, like trust. Man, holy hell. Yeah. No matter.
Yeah. So she ended up doing writing, and then she got a big tattoo on it. And she's like, I can't believe that she got a job doing blogging and doing very well with it. So I'm, shocked. Now, a lot of people, so we see certain animals, totem, hawks, opossums, that's how I got into doing mental health. Like you see certain opossums at certain times, and it always says to stay quiet until you're safe enough to go into, it's kind of, they play dead until it's safe.
Yes.
So when I saw an opossum, I was trying to push spirituality and mental health. It's conservative clinic, and they're like, what are you doing? What's those weird crystals you have on your office? It's the chakra chart. And so they're very traditional. Yeah. So I know you can't put it on comments. But then I kept saying, well, universe, I feel like you put me here for a reason. Because when I talk about it, when I spoke in IOP, people would light up. They'd be all up front. And they'd be like, wow. I would bring out crystals, have them pick out, and they would get so excited. And I knew it was the time of the Aquarian Age. I knew people had to get more connected to, what time is the right? I knew it was connected to more of universe, like calling to these souls that are creative people that are here for the shift in consciousness, the big shift, the big change. So I kept asking and asking, and I would see a possum. I would walk down the street, and I would see in mid-Wilshire, I see this big opossum walking and turning to look at me, and then I would walk over. I was like, what is the possum doing in the middle of the street? So then I was driving to work, and I almost hit an opossum. I'm like, woo, that's two. Then I was out in my office and looked out, and there was another opossum just walking. My client squealed, like, oh my God, what is that? Like a big rat. That's an opossum. So I looked it up, and it says play dead until it's safe. So I decided not to push the spirituality, and I said, I'm going to wait for a sign. So I had my big crystal there. I think it was fuchsite, and I was just sitting there, and this older woman comes in my office, because I'm honoring who I am. I'm honoring my spirit. I'm a spiritual person that does, therapy. And then she's like, oh, that's a nice fuchsite stone. I love that stone. And I'm like, I said, you know about Stone? She goes, oh, yeah. So she comes in, closes the door. She's been at the clinic forever. And she goes, I'm an energy healer. Don't tell anyone. I'm like, you're an energy healer?
Oh.
Oh. I said, I'm one too. And she's like, oh, really? She goes, yeah, I had a feeling. You had that chakra chart. And then we started schmoozing and talking. And then she loved, I was telling her about this stuff. She goes, I want you to come. And it's really hard to get groups in there. So she goes, I want you to come and talk about this in my meditation class. And again, I was trying to push it in. And everyone's like, no, Freud, this, that, CBT. And then I spoke. She goes, this is really good. You're really great. I want you to continue. Come next week. Come again. So I kept coming. And then she's like, I think that maybe we should start telling the manager about it. Yeah, I know it's crazy because it was sort of a clinic. And then we told the manager. And within, she goes, there's one on Saturday too. You work on Saturdays. I have a group then. I have 2 meditation classes. So then I said, okay, maybe you can take them over. The other one who was on Saturday decided to leave. So she gave me both of her classes, which is really hard to do in the clinic. And what was interesting is that when I opened up about spirituality, about meditation, I could talk about spirit. So that's how I got to talk about the universe. So the universe set it up. And then within a month's time, she said, I'm retiring. Here are my classes.
Oh.
So I know. So that opossum did all that, knowing when to be quiet, when to be aware to say something, when to move, when to not. So somebody asked, like, how do you know when to move? You got to look for the signs. You look for the messages. You look for the synchronicity. And you may get visions. You may get like aha moments, and certain things. You feel it in your heart and your soul. And that's why you want to meditate. You want to clear your energy field. You want to be present. And look for the signs everywhere. The minute I saw what was happening with all this chaos, I'm like, this is opening. This here. Oh, everything's breaking down. Perfect. Opening of the Aquarian Age, literally, coming forward. So women can start great. Look what happened before the Me Too movement. When we're saying no way, every group is like coming forward and saying, because we're shifting, we're changing, we're honoring the divine feminine that's there and the creator, that's really forward. So and I thought it was interesting. We did a workshop this weekend in Malibu on the divine feminine, that the womb is really like a symbol, like the cauldron. And I have my little cauldron I was going to bring in here to show you. The little black cauldron?
Yeah, I
like
got a little one too. I was actually thinking about it today. I was like, I want like a real big witch one, like a human size, like you could fit like a child in their cauldron and have like a fire underneath it. One day I'll manifest it.
Yeah, and I didn't realize that the cauldron represents the womb, and that the reason why it was black is because it was supposed to be secret, and then and the womb is dark. So everything grows in the dark, and they're finding that what's dark matter in the universe is actually intelligent energy. So it was like it represents this receptacle, of the womb. And then also, if you think of the woman's like uterus and the ovaries, it's very similar to the Holy Grail, because it has little symbols and the chakra, and that's like the ovaries. Yeah, I have a picture. I should have put it over here, but it's like they're very similar. So the search of the Holy Grail is the search of the divine feminine. That there's so many levels that were hidden. Just like I think I said before, like 13 moon cycles.
Yeah.
And women have 13 was evil, so 13 was really they consider that they made it evil because they wanted to take over the power, because there was an energy of feeling fearful that women had the power to create like the divine. So the 13 was considered evil, but 13 moon cycles, 13 full moons. So 13 is actually a very powerful number. So there's so much out there. And I thought what was interesting, what I learned when I was doing this workshop too, is that did I talk about that during the time of the Catholic Crusades, when they were like bringing Catholicism all around the world and colonizing? During the time that the men and the women were married, the men would go to war to do the Crusades, and what would happen is that they would die in war, and then they would leave their homes to the women and the children. So they leave to the house. The women would be living there. The church didn't like that much because they didn't get the money from the houses. Yeah. They didn't get the money from the houses. So what happened is they started to make different laws in the church, and they made the ministers celibate. So I think that's some of the distortion happened. They made it celibate. And then what happened is that the women they would come, they didn't have a home now. They didn't have a place to go. The women that were left over, a lot of them went to the woods, you know, and they started to work in their cauldrons, and they would nothing to do. They would know how to make herbs. They worked with the natives, they worked with different people, and they would start doing healing stuff with the herbs. And then what happened with that after a while is um, they were doing so well with healing people and doing other stuff, they would create women's groups. And that's where some of the covens got started, where the women were homeless. They would create a group, they would live together, and they would exchange information, crystals, herbs, and different things. And then years later, when they became powerful and people were seeking out for wisdom and know things, they had the trials, the witch trials and other things they killed them away.
And so forth.
Yeah. Right. So a lot of times when if something is done around groups, you try to get rid of the evidence. You try to, kill them, etc. So, but I feel like it's coming back to that, where there's women gatherings together, and people are, they've always gathered, but I think it's very interesting. I know about the COVID and everything, but stay 6 feet apart, don't speak, no touching. It's all about separating souls.
Yeah.
Separate them all you can, and guess what? When it's over, man, people are going to be like this. They're going to be like, ooh, they're going to crave connection, raise energy. So again, the duality of the earth, anything negative will make positive. So I don't know if I see some questions. I don't know if I'm covering everything everyone likes to hear.
On the point, on those, the word witch, I feel like can have a very guttural or like visceral reaction to some people.
Witch?
But when people don't identify, just a woman or male, or anyone really, who works with herbs and the lunar cycle and the earth and everything that earth has to offer. There's this book, I had to dig it out of my closet when we were speaking yesterday. It's called Power of the Witch by Lori Cabot. And
nice.
She lives in Salem, Massachusetts. I think she's still alive. She must be like in her 80s at this point. But
wow.
There was something I wanted to read out of here, because we were talking about going back into so if you don't mind, can I just read, it's a page?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's really interesting because it talks about, it's going from a matriarchal society into patriarchal society. So it just made me, it's exactly what you're talking about. So it's out of her book. So the earliest works of art that depict human figures are of mothers, dating back 35,000 to 10,000 BCE, discovered all across Europe and Africa. At a time when the male role in conception was not understood, or only vaguely understood, the mother's body was viewed as the only source of life, just as the earth was the only source of biological life. There are no similar depictions of men dating back this far. Indeed, the role of the male in conception was rather a recent discovery, dating back only about 5,000 years. The father's role in conception was probably not widely understood till about 3000 BCE. So that's like a 7,000-year gap, right? So it goes from totally just female art, and then all of a sudden starts to bring in phallic art, right? Okay, it is not surprising that the father's role should have gone unnoticed for so long. Since a woman does not become pregnant with every act of intercourse, nor does she know she is pregnant until days or even weeks have passed, the connection between conception and sexual activity with males is not immediately obvious. It is to our ancestors that appeared that the male opened the vagina, but the actual placement of the young life in the womb was a work of divine power, perhaps the light of the moon, perhaps a spirit visitor. At any rate, the conception of fatherhood and permanent mating developed rather later in human history. From the wealth of archaeological, historical, and anthropological evidence, goddess statues, burial customs, cave paintings of women giving birth, the newborn still connected to her by the umbilical cord. I believe it is clear that our ancestors understood the immediate connection between female power and earth power. Woman was the source of life. Woman's recurrent cycles parallel with the recurrent cycles of nature. The great myth of the eternal return was the myth played over and over again in the cycle of life of every woman in each pregnancy that produced a new human life, and in the mysterious bleeding that occurred each moon and ceased when the womb retained its blood and grew fuller and fuller, like the waxing moon. By so closely identifying women with the earth and the earth with divine power, our ancestors found it reasonable to assume that the divine power behind creation was female. In a quote, it says, God was female for at least the first 200,000 years of human life on earth. But it's just like this, going back to what you're saying, is just this Aquarian age. And I was like, when you were talking about it yesterday, I was like, there's a book this book talks about exactly what Carolyn is saying. And that was just obviously a little snippet that I thought was so interesting. But it goes into Catholicism, goes into goddess-based societies, into war-based societies, and the shift of it, and then the scares, like the fear of women, and also I was just thinking about too the power animals. There's this. Are you familiar with Ted Andrews? He has a couple books.
Yes.
Yeah, Ted Andrews. So he has this book.
He has animal book. You do Animal Speak, Animal Speak, and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so interesting because, you know, one of the things that I definitely resonated with or held from that book is you really need to study that animal. So like what you're saying, you look it up and it's like a quick thing too. You're like, okay, I play dead until you feel safe, right? Now, obviously it makes sense, but if there's a reoccurring animal, like the hawk, of course, like, and you have a totem that's very present with you, you see it like on a bumper sticker, you see it like all of a sudden it's on your Facebook feed or whatever, when you learn, you know, how does it react during fear, and start to learn, and so you can pick up these traits. How does it react in scarcity? How does it mother? How does it is it a lone wolf? Like, do they do better in packs? Do they do better, you know, all these like little nuances, even with the foods that they eat, like tiny like things like that. I know deer shows up a lot. I know it has to do with start eating vegetables, right?
Yeah, and gentleness too.
Yeah,
gentleness and grace for life. Yeah, I was just posting that in my group about a deer. You have a group, How to Work with the Universe, and animal comes from the word anima, which means life, animated. And it brings to life, so it's about the life force. And yes, our animals are actually our ancestors in many ways, because we can observe them and see like how to be mindful and be present and work with intuition. And there's a book called The Mystery of the Great White Lions, and it was a white woman that went to Africa to meet these white lions, and that they were talking to her, and the shaman there said, "Oh yeah, those are our ancestors." And when people kill animals and other stuff, they actually ruin the ecosystem of the planet. So it's interesting. Certain animals have very powerful things, but yes, absolutely. And that's why so many Asian cultures like Egypt, and even like in Greek culture, they use a lot of animals, a lot, you know, or the raven or the crow, because they know that the universe uses everything to teach us, you know, to teach.
I mean, the Chinese zodiac too. I mean, that's all animals. Literally, that is. They have their whole zodiac is based off animals.
Yeah, absolutely. Any book recommendations for animals? I don't know if she was asking, but Animal Speak is a great book. There's so many out there. And every with books too, I also go with what I feel drawn to. Another good book about women is The Chalice and the Blade. I think her last name is Eisler. It's a really good book about the history of women. And then there's a book about the soul wound. I think it's over there. But there's tons, and I think people, I like, when I'm at Goddess Circle, I realized that, oh, by the way, it's like witch means wise one. You know, as far as like, oh, Wiccan circle, but it actually means wise one. And then the word has been distorted and changed for everything, just like the 13, the cauldron, everything has been negated. The reason why a lot of witches use, as we're talking about, the black hat that went up is because that was connecting to the divine. That was an energy to bring the energy up. Just like the teepee, it's a connection to the divine to go up. So everything, all these symbols have meanings to them. And then we take them apart, there's more power to them. Like Amaterasu is a Japanese goddess of love and compassion. And she's the red dot on that white flag, and nobody even talks about it, you know?
I mean, I had no idea until right now. Holy hell, that's so powerful.
Yeah, when you really study goddesses, you're like, whoa, it's like everywhere. Or like Kuan Yin, who's everywhere. She's a goddess of compassion and love, and she won't leave the planet until everyone's at a certain level. And she was honored in China and Japan. I mean, obviously people have little pictures of her everywhere. I have one in my office, Kuan Yin. But she was an ascended master, you know, mastery. Yamaya, the African goddess of the water. Water is so important. if you want to be abundant, think about water, because water is an element of abundance. For example, water, there's a water currents, okay? And water's, and there's currency. So water represents money, okay? So if you want to be a money, go with your flow, go with your rhythm. Water is held in a bank. You think of a river bank, that's where water lies. So currency, bank. When you're in your flow, that's when the money comes. You think of God's source, money source, income source. So all the source will come from the universe. If you start going your flow, the money's going to flow. We're 70% water, and water is an element of movement. It's also a female element too, because it's like part of the umbilical, you know, the baby being inside and all those different things. So there's a lot of things that are around us I wouldn't even think about that are here to help us prosper and grow and become more abundant. And become, and to honor like the creative beings. Just to be a receptacle is to be like, to hold that energy. What am I receiving today? That's what am I getting, you know? And it's not like, let's go to war, let's do this, let's do that. We need the divine masculine, we need the divine masculine energy, but that's pioneering, loving, guiding, strength, but not abuse, dominating, you know. There's negative feminine energy too. There's conniving, manipulative. So we need the divine masculine and the divine feminine, you know. I said, well, who's the divine masculine? I'm like, the only thing I could think of right off my mind was like Michael Landon, you know, like in little, you know, Little House on the Prairie, like Little House on the Prairie.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I never watched it, but yes.
Yeah. Different generation. But it was just like, oh, Michael Landon. I don't know. I mean, it's just, there's tons of people out there, but yeah. It's just, we don't have those images. We have the image of the brute, which is out there, instead of like the compassion, or the image of, you know, just something like the petty manipulative women, instead of the divine feminine that can be open, the goddess, and receiving. But yes, every culture, Shinto, every culture has a divine feminine female power. Highway to Heaven, yeah, that's a good show. That's right, he was on that. Highway to Heaven. I think it was on TV. I was like, oh yeah, he's like the divine masculine. You know? But so I feel like you know, right now for people during this COVID, you know, the crown opening, you know, start doing automatic writing, start going within. What's a good crown chakra crystal?
I mean, there's so many. I mean, when you're talking about, I know you're talking about synchronicities a lot. Right, is one of the best stones for synchronicity. It also helps eliminate any fear towards your path, which a lot of people I feel like tend to resist. And it's also like, I love to give those to people who are kind of like, when you see them, they're on like the budding beginnings of their path, and you're like, you're so close, you just need to peel up one more layer. And I feel like you'll be like on your own with it. And because when you're getting hit in the head with, you know, hawks multiple times, I mean, like, you start to pay attention, right? So, I mean, that one's a really great one to give to people. Of course, the synchronicities thing, I mean, like, you know, I mean, Dambraid's also a really gentle one, which I really love, because it helps connect you to your guides and your higher self. And it's just, and that's a gentle stone. I mean, I'm wearing Moldavite right now, like a weirdo.
Wow.
Moldavite, I'm so thirsty for it recently, so I'm going to be going.
Why is that? What is that?
What's that?
Is that one good for?
This one's really great for intuition, but it's, I mean, it's really, it blasts open your crown chakra, but it's really fantastic for transformation in creatively and maybe aggressive way. I don't know. But the other night I had a dream where like there was moldavite growing out of the ground, like sprouting like mushrooms everywhere all around me. And I was like, and then I woke up and I even have like a faceted one around my necklace. Got the moldies, got this, and I have like moldavite in my pockets right now. I think I'm a freak, but
is that like a kind of like an astral stone from another planet?
It's a tektite, so it derives from a meteor impact, and
yeah,
it's nar. But yeah, those are the ones that I would definitely work with.
I think people want to buy that off of you. They're all saying they like your stuff.
What's that?
They want to buy it off of you. They're like, how much?
I know. Well, you know, it's so funny. Courtney said this for me, and I went to her house and social distanced, and there was on her bench, there's just nothing but moldavite. And so.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she's going through a lot of change right now. So.
Somebody's saying, how are you not in outer space with all that on?
I've acclimated to these pieces. These pieces are just, they're part of me now. But yeah, so Moldavite can make you very, very ungrounded. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it kicks us off at an hour. So
Yes.
do you guys want to take some questions? Hi,
Sure.
Kiana. I love you too, babe. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, let Carolyn know. You guys just gotta drink up this moment. And then also too, when you guys are talking about books, Carolyn has 2 amazing books.
Yeah. I have Soul Wisdom, which is my book. It's just like quick read. It just came out this year, of like intuition, higher self. You just open it up, ignite your light, you know, being in the present, mindfulness. It's a quick read. And then Honor Your Spirit. You had that here at one point. It's about how to, if you can see it, like how to work with, how I became a psychotherapist, an intuitive, and a healer, and how I listened to signs and messages, how I got an office for Cheap on Beverly, how the universe guided me with animals and totem animals, all these different things. So, yeah, so any questions about universal knowledge? Hi, Sienna.
Yeah,
So,
and can they order that on your website?
yeah, they can go to Amazon too. It's right on Amazon. It's on Amazon. There's Courtney. It's on Amazon. Every time I come in here, God, Courtney and I would always talk about 222, right, Courtney? It was just so crazy. Thank you for recommending books. Yeah, it was just constantly 222. We'd be talking about, and then we open up cards 222. We had such fun. I miss the store.
Dude, I know. I miss people being in here. I miss you coming in here. I miss Court being in here. I mean, she's old enough. The store is doing good, but yeah, it's like, talk about going within and the COVID. The store is going into. It is going into womb space for sure.
Right. Yes. Yeah. But there's a lot of, this is a great time. Somebody said they were journaling early, to keep journaling and to keep like writing things down, all the insights. You're going to be more intuitive. It's possible to book a virtual session. Yes, absolutely. I do virtual sessions. Any advice to help with your current transition? Hi, I don't know who that was. Yeah, just to kind of go within, get some crystals. I got two to do. Go within. What is the crystal? You just said that we'll divide. Oh, goddesses. Oh, from different. There's tons of goddess books out there. I used to like Lynn Andrews. I don't know if she talked about the goddesses much, but the Chalice and the Blade is a good book. Chalice and the Blade. It's a really good. It's more historical though. Yeah, you could work with me. Just I'm Intuitive Solutions, and
She's gonna kick us off in 2 minutes, just letting you guys know.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody, so I'm gonna post this, and definitely book a session with Carolyn. I will tell you something. Changed my life. It changed Rick's life. It changed my little sister's life. And here's the thing. It's so simple. You're almost like, it almost feels like magical, like magical beans that you plan. You're like, what the fuck? Like, that just happened so quickly, and it's so simple. But when situations arise, you see how differently you respond in such a graceful way. So for those who are looking for like a Moldavite kind of transition without the hecticness, definitely book a session with Carolyn. She's just the best.
That's Theta Healing I do. Yeah, your story is awesome. I just love watching you. You're doing amazing. You're such a natural. You're like the high priestess. Yeah. It's like I
appreciate that. Well,
much.
I know tomorrow we're doing our last Crystal QVC before summer hiatus. And
nice.
Tomorrow it's gonna get Liddy committee. I'll tell you that. It's gonna get
my whole apartment is filled with your crystals, and they're high energy. They're really clean. I don't know what you do with them, but there's some kind of.
They're very loud, and there's been a lot of crystals where I wanted to bring them in, and they're just like, I'm not yours. I'm at the stores. I don't belong there. And I'm like, damn it. And anyway, so the ones that are here, they definitely want to be here. The hiatus is going to be 2 weeks long, potentially 3, but I think it's going to just be 2, just so you guys know. All right, it's kicking us off. Thank you so much, Carolyn, and thank you everybody who joined, and send this to your friends too once we post it. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh,
all right.
Thank you. Bye.